Hello, welcome to our Form 1 English online lesson. I'm your presenter, Nyabuti Peter. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about adjectives, and so I have three objectives that we as learners, or you as learners, you are supposed to be able to meet. The first objective is that as a learner, you should be able to understand what adjectives are. Secondly, I expect you by the end of the lesson that you should be able to know the different positions adjective can take in a sentence. And lastly, I expect you to be able to answer any questions on adjective correctly. Before we start discussing about adjective, I would like us to carry out an activity. And as you can see in this slide, we have a picture. So what I require from you is to take your time and describe either the things or people that you see in this picture. You can use either 2 or 3 words. The words that you have used to describe the picture that you had seen earlier on are what we refer as adjectives. So the word that you use to describe maybe the students or the environment in which those students were are the ones that we are referring as adjectives, which leads us to our big question. What are adjectives? Adjectives can be described as words that describe or give more information about nouns or pronouns. Words that describe or give more information about nouns or pronouns. And we already know from our Form 1 lesson that nouns are naming words. So nouns can be a name of a person like Peter. In other case, pronouns, these are words that replaces nouns in a sentence. So instead of saying, for example, Peter is going to school, you can replace the noun Peter with the pronoun he, and the sentence will be, he is going to school. So he is a pronoun that is replacing the word or the noun Peter. These adjectives, because we are talking about adjective, these adjectives usually tell us something about color. So they can give the color of something like the uniform. For instance, some of you, when you were describing the picture early on, maybe you gave the color of the uniform the students were wearing. Adjective can also give the size of something that they are talking about. They can also talk about quantity or even classification. So one reason why these adjectives are important is because they will help us to tell us something about either the color, which color are you talking about, which size are you talking about, or quantity. As we go on, I would like you to know that they answer adjective, they answer the question which. For example, somebody can ask you as you are taking notes, which pen are you using to make your notes? And probably you can say you are using red pen. So they answer the question which. Somebody can also ask you, which is the color of our uniform? And in this case, you can say, for example, our school uniform is blue. So the adjective answer the question which. Examples of adjective in sentences. Before we take a look at the examples, it is important to note that adjectives help to make our ideas and information as clear and specific as possible. What this point means is that it is because of adjective that we are able to understand what the speaker is talking about. So adjective helps to make the information or whatever thing that the person is talking about to be as clear and specific as possible. Let us now examine the examples of sentences that are given here. Sentence number 1, she wore a red dress. Sentence number 2, it was a tiny dog. Sentence number 3, they had 5 children. And the last sentence, she is from a good family. Before we look at those sentences closely once again, I would like to ask you some questions. Are you able to identify the noun in those sentences that we have just read? Are you able to identify the adjective? And remember, we say that adjective are words that give more information about nouns or pronouns. Are you able to identify those adjectives? Let us examine the sentence once again. She wore a red dress. From this sentence, it is clear that dress is our noun and the adjective is red. Remember, we said that adjective answer the question which. If, for example, you ask yourself, which dress? Then somebody can easily say it's a red dress. The second example, it was a tiny dog. In this example, dog is our noun and tiny is our adjective. Tiny is giving more information about the dog. So if somebody asks you which dog, you can say it is the tiny one. Tiny means small. The third example, they had 5 children. Children in this case is our noun. 5 is an example of an adjective. And here 5 is giving more information about children. Which children are you talking about? It is the 5 children. How many children did they have? They had 5 children. The last example is she is from a good family. Family is our noun. Good in this case is our adjective. So good is giving more information about the noun family. If you ask the question, which family? It is a good family. Which family does she come from? It is a good family. Something else to emphasize, remember we said that adjective give more information in terms of color, and from the example number 1 you can note that red is an example of a color. Then it can be in terms of size, and in example number 2 we have tiny. Tiny means small, so the dog is small or tiny. Then it can be in terms of quantity. Adjective can give more information in terms of quantity, and in this case we have 5. 5 is referring to the number, quantity, how many. And lastly, we say that adjective can also give more information in terms of classification. And good is an example of classification because it is classifying this family as a good family, because we have different types of family. We have poor family, rich family, and many more. Position of adjectives. In this particular step, we would like to know which position do these adjectives take when they are used in a sentence. And I would like to begin by saying that adjectives can take 2 positions in a sentence. This adjective can take 2 positions in a sentence. And the first one is in front of nouns or pronouns. This simply means that the first place where this adjective can be used is in front. They can appear in front of either nouns or pronouns. Let us look at the following examples of sentences. Number one, the blue dress fitted her very well. Number two, they lived in a huge house. The third sentence, he kicked the fat cat. And lastly, he bought a new ball. We have said that the first position or place where this adjective can be used is in front of nouns or pronouns. Can you be able to identify the nouns or pronouns before we identify the adjectives? Let us examine the sentences once again. The blue dress fitted her very well. In this sentence, we can say that dress is our noun. And remember, we have said that the first position this adjective can take is in front of nouns. So automatically, the word blue, which is our adjective, comes before or in front of the noun dress. The second example, they lived in a huge house. And in this case, house is our noun. Then in front of the noun house, we have huge. And huge in this particular sentence simply means big. So huge is an adjective that is used in front of a noun, house. The next sentence, he kicked the fat cat. Cat is our example of a noun. And before it, right in front of it, we have the adjective fat. Then lastly, we have the sentence that reads, he bought a new ball. So ball is our noun. Right in front of it, we have new, which is a description of a ball. So from these examples that we have been given here, it is clear or evident, it comes out clearly that then the adjective blue, huge, fat, and new, they are giving more information about the nouns dress in sentence 1, the noun house in example 2, the noun cat in example 3, and the noun ball in the last example. And remember, earlier on we said that these adjectives, they answer the question which. If you ask yourself which dress, the answer is right in front of you, that is blue. Which house? Huge. Which cat? The fat one. Which ball? The new one. So in this particular example that you have given here, it brings out the fact that the first position in which this adjective can be used in a sentence is right in front or before nouns or pronouns. The second position which adjective take in a sentence is after a linking verb. This means that adjective can appear or they can be used after a linking verb. That makes us to explain what a linking verb is. A linking verb is a verb that joins or links a subject with its complement. And unlike the common verb that we know, which states action, and an example of an action is like kicking. When you kick something, that is an action. Linking verbs, they don't demonstrate or they don't show action. For them, they indicate a state. And if you remember well, when we are talking about verbs, we have two types of verbs. We have those verbs that indicate actions and those words that indicate states. So as we go on, you can say that the common examples of linking verbs are the forms of be, and they include linking verbs like is, become, seem, appear, feel, looks, and many more. Example. Remember, we have said that the second position in which these adjectives can take in a sentence is after a linking verb. Let us look at the following examples. The first example, the dog was huge. The second example, we were hungry. And the last example, the curtains in the bedroom were blue. The curtains in the bedroom were blue. Now, let us try to see where these adjectives have been used in those particular examples. Remember, we have said that the first position in which this adjective can appear is before or in front of nouns or pronouns. Then you have gone ahead to say that the second place where they can be used is after a linking verb. And from our examples, the first example we have, the dog was huge. Automatically, we cannot say that the dog is our subject in this particular case. Then we have was, then there is huge. Huge is an example of an adjective because it is describing how big something is. But in this case, the huge is referring back to the dog in this particular sentence. But something to note, the huge is not coming before or it is not used before the noun dog, but in this case it has been used after the linking verb was. This is a linking verb because it is not indicating an action, but it is indicating the state. Was huge. So this is an example of an adjective that is used after a linking verb, and the linking verb here is was, and then the adjective is huge. The next example, we were angry. Angry is our example of an adjective, and in this case it has been used after the linking verb were. The last example, the curtains in the bedroom were blue. Blue is an example of an adjective, and as you can note, it is used or it is appearing at the end of the sentence, but in front of it we have the linking verb were. So as I conclude this lesson, today we have talked about adjectives, and we said that adjectives, these are words that gives more information about nouns or pronouns. And we say that they can do that in terms of color, for example, blue, in terms of size, small, big. It can also do that in terms of quantity, that is maybe one dog, two dogs. And lastly, we say that it can do that in terms of classification. We have also gone ahead and talked about the different positions in which this adjective can take, and we say that there are two positions in which this adjective they can take. The first one is adjectives can be used in front of nouns or pronouns. We saw those examples. And the last one that we have just discussed is that this adjective they can be used after a linking verb. Well, I hope that you have learned something, and I encourage you to look out for the next lesson. Have a nice day.